Hi everyone, my name's Khalid and I've been working with Ada and Mustafa on the travel inspiration app FlyMe. I got to work on both the back end and the front end, helping to build our API, implement our design, and make sure it was responsive.
Hi, I'm Ada, and I've been working on the Fly Me travel app with Mustafa and Khalid. So I worked on the back end and the front end, so things like routing, setting up the endpoints that we needed to make requests to the APIs we were using. And I also worked a lot on the front end side of things as well in React. So I wrote a couple of the main components, including the ones to render the search results. And I was also responsible as well for breaking down the components that we needed in order to develop the overall structure of our app.
Hi, my name is Mustafa. I'm one of the three members of the Fly Me travel app, an app that allows budget travelers to input a budget and get back travel any prices that would match their budget. One of my main responsibilities was to work on the front end. I built out a few of the components. One of the main components I built out was a form component towards the end where you would get back a form that would imitate an actual booking. I also did the autocomplete component as well, which would match your search with some of the airports that would come back, and also built out one of the first endpoints that would give back some of the flight prices and maybe some destinations as well.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the presentation for FlyMe, the travel inspiration app. FlyMe is for anybody who's looking to take a trip but doesn't quite know where they want to go. The app provides both search functionality and inspiration resources to help someone make that decision. The first search that's available is an inspiration search, which allows the user to search for different flights that are available from their given location based on their duration of stay and their budget. The second search function is a traditional search function whereby you can search for flights to a location during a given period. Now, if we have a look at where the app originally started, we'd hoped to create a kind of bundling package whereby you'd be able to book flights, hotels, and activities for different locations. We also wanted to include the ability to see different resources in terms of safety ratings. So you'd be able to look at crime at different locations, any health issues at different locations, more in line with, say, the pandemic. We also wanted to add the ability to look at different points of interest at different locations. And the idea would be you could kind of view all of this for many different locations and then incorporate flights, hotels, and activities for one overall journey that you'd be able to book in one go. Now, as we started to work on the project, we quickly saw how ambitious that idea was originally. So when we started tackling the API and realizing what kind of data we were getting back, we decided that it would be better to focus on a minimum viable product that would focus on flights initially, provide some initial kind of articles for inspiration, and take it from there. The good thing is that the app in its current state does function quite well with respect to flights. So our hope is to then be able to expand that for both hotels and activities. And we do feel it would be quite manageable to include things like the safety ratings and points of interest based on our understanding of the API at this point. Before we take a look at the demo for the app, I'll pass it over to Ada, who will take you through the front end.
To build our front end, we used React, Node, and JavaScript. Having the experience, I think, of working with React during the course, we were all really keen to keep going with it and deepen our understanding, especially as React is such an important skill in the current job market for front-end development. So once we'd built the back end and had our main endpoints for the flight data set up, we built a search form. So the user can either search for specific destinations, so like flights from Manchester to Paris, or they can search kind of for more inspiration. So the second search function will return all destinations from any given location. So initially we configured the app with hard-coded data returning these results. We then later used Axios to make the GET requests to the backend so we could then display dynamic flight data in our app. So in the early stages, Figma was really, really useful when it came to laying out our initial drafts for the app design, organizing the kind of overall architecture, and deciding on the components that we needed to build the user interface. So this helped us as well with following the single responsibility principle. So that made it as well a lot easier to manage our state and the flow of data throughout the app, which I'll show you now very briefly in VS Code. You can see our components here on the left. So we're in the app component now. So this data that's entered into the search form, it's managed with the on-change event handlers, as well as the useState hook. And so the data that's stored in the useState is then passed into this handle origin search function. So this manages the API searches, passing the user search terms into an Axios request, which then makes the call to the Amadeus flight endpoint that we want to hit and returns the results. So these results are then rendered in one of these flight summary cards. So this displays an image of the destination, the name and the cost of the flight. So this single card is then rendered in Flight Offers Summaries component. This uses the map function here to return an array of the flight information, which we then display to the user, and we used kind of CSS styling and Flexbox to present this as a column of the individual cards.
Hi, so I'm gonna go through the things that we did for our backend. First of all, you can see that both our front end and backend are together in the same repo. We did this because just ease of use, so we can just flick through them both as quickly as possible. The main backend tool that we used was Express, mainly for security reasons, so we'd be able to hide our API key. Because Amadeus API uses an API key, we had to keep it hidden. However, if we had used React just to make the request, anyone would be able to access that key. So that was one of the main reasons. We also used Express to set up our endpoints. We set these endpoints and started passing data from our phone and started making calls to our Amadeus API. We made those calls from our front end using Axios. So here are the calls that we made that were making calls to our backend. I'd like to talk also about is the Amadeus APIs, which is actually a really large and comprehensive API. Even though it's quite difficult to set up initially, towards the end it did give us all the different data that we needed. So to test that we were getting the correct data, we used Postman. Using Postman gave us like a quick insight onto what information we were getting back. So we used that as dummy data, so we weren't making like a lot of unnecessary calls when we were building out the app. We also used concurrently, which was actually quite helpful because we didn't have to make separate calls to start the front and back end. You could just make one call and then it would run both the front end and the back end at the same time. We also use Pexels, which was an API that would give us the images that we would need for all the different countries that the user would search. So it'd be there if you search London, Paris, Madrid, wherever you search, you'd get that image that would go along with your price.
Hi everybody, I'm going to take you through a quick demonstration of FlyMe, the travel inspiration app. Here you can see the homepage. As you'll note, the core of it is this search form. It provides the function to search for flights by destination if you already know where you want to go. And it also provides a more adventurous search whereby you would input your origin and it will return flights based on the number of days you want to go for and your budget. The app also includes some inspiration articles here. These are all kind of links that will take you to different articles. Let's just try this one. Yeah. 10 best adventure and backpacking blogs to follow in 2022, and maybe get an idea of where you want to go. Back to the app. So the search form does have two options you can go with. If we try the first choice, whereby we know the destination that we're going to, let's say we're flying from London to Madrid, 6th of January, and we'll say 2 adults. So that'll fire off an Axios request with this information to our backend Express server. I will make the request to the Amadeus API with all this information, and the response that we'll get should hopefully give us our flight tickets to Madrid on that day. And there we are. As you can see, we've got various flights that are available, increases in price. You'll also note that the results are rendered with different images. That's a result of using the Pexels image API. So once we've got a flight that we're happy with, we can take a closer look. This will just give you a little bit more information about the ticket. And if you really want to, we can have a look at booking the flight. This would include information around the passenger. We won't go ahead and book at the moment. The app isn't yet capable of passing this data over to the Amadeus API and then actually booking it. Obviously, that's something we didn't want to delve into just yet for obvious reasons. Let's have a quick look at how the app looks on mobile. Yeah, so it's not exactly perfect at the moment, but we have tried to generally keep it usable on both mobile and desktop. Yeah, let's also have a look at the origin search. We're traveling from London, 6th again. Say we're traveling for 5 days and we've only got 150 quid. So we've got various results here. And let's say we would like the idea of going to Amsterdam. So yeah, that'll also give you the details of the flight to Amsterdam. So yeah, that's the general functionality and look of the application. We hope you like it.
One of the big problems that we ran into was unfortunately a little bit too late to solve, and this is relating to one of the Amadeus APIs that we were using. We're making this first request here, which is returning the flight data. So in our component, we're using array and dot notation to extract the items that we need. So for example, here we've got the duration is displaying to the user. However, the data here will only return the airport code. So MAD, you can see here for Madrid. So we make another API call, this time to one that takes the airport code as a parameter and then returns the city name. So that's great, returns Madrid here, you can see it here as well. The problem that we realised too late is that this API that converts the airport code into the city name, it currently only works in certain countries. So this means, that some of our searches are still returning airport codes instead of city names, which is not very user-friendly. So it's a bit frustrating to realise this issue at such a late stage in the project. It could have saved us a bit of a headache, I think. Having said that, though, it's just time really that we would need to solve this. Because we can either, we did try and find another API to return the data that we wanted, but they were sort of either kind of equally unreliable or just they weren't usable. So we can either kind of keep trying to find another one, or another solution would be we can hard code a JSON file, so just mock up some basic airport data, and then this can be passed into the component that's rendering the flight results. Even with these issues, though, I'm still really proud of what we've achieved. And yeah, just overall, just working on the project has just given me a lot of confidence, really. That can keep building on everything that we've learned on the course.